The world has no idea what's coming. Hey guys, Britt here. Welcome to End Times Bible Prophecy. We're still in the early moments of the development of drone warfare, and yet already most conventional weapons are obsolete. Yet most of the world, the majority of the world, remains completely unaware of just how dramatically the nature of warfare has changed. New developments are taking place at breakneck speed, and the world has no idea what's coming. And guys, this has major implications for end times Bible prophecy, and that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. But first, just a reminder, later tonight over on the YouTube channel, if you click on the live tab, you will see this right here, the Prophecy Roundtable. So that will be myself, John Haller, Scott Townsend, Patrick Wood, and Pete Garcia. We're going to be talking about a number of different topics. We mostly focus on technology in these, but it can be a whole range of different topics. So make sure to tune in tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can join us in the live chat over on YouTube. Jenny will be on in that, as well as a number of you at that time. So make sure to join the community at that time if you can. Of course, this will be available any other time in the future for you to watch, but make sure to check out the roundtable later tonight. So, what is the world not see coming? Well, let's start with this right here. So this is from Zero Hedge. Just from this past Sunday, it says, EU launches drone wall to detect and destroy drones violating European airspace. So we're seeing more and more drones are taking on a major role in national defense. And here we're talking about a drone wall. So it says European defense ministers agreed on September 26 to develop a drone wall along their borders with Russia and Ukraine to better detect, track, and intercept drones violating Europe's airspace, a move driven by a recent surge in incursions and hybrid attacks. Quote, Russia is testing the European Union and NATO, and our response must be firm, united, and immediate, EU Defense Commissioner Andrius Kubilius said on September 26 after chairing a virtual meeting of 10 countries on Europe's eastern flank. And I have to say, you read that and you think of 10 countries, right? 10 countries building because of course that has implications for Bible prophecy. I don't think these 10 countries that are mentioned here in Eastern Europe are the 10 nations that we read about in Daniel and Revelation, but who knows? We'll see how this moves going forward. But it says Ukrainian and NATO officials also took part. The EU said the project could take a year to build and that envoys will soon draw up a detailed conceptual and technical roadmap, with top priority being the establishment of an effective detection system. Kubilius added that Europe's defense industry would be brought on board and that leaders are expected to examine funding in the coming weeks. Today's meeting was a milestone. Now we focus on delivery, he said. So we're seeing the European Union transforming itself slowly into a military power because of the war in Ukraine and the perceived threat of Russian invasion. They're spending more on defense, and what they're spending their funds on is the development of drone warfare and drone gear. We're seeing drone software, drone AI-enabled drones. They are not focused on the conventional military applications that the United States sort of continues to be focused on. They're focusing on what some might call the future, but it's the present. We're already seeing drones dominate the battlefield in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. And we've seen a development take place just recently that I think everybody should be paying attention to. So this is from United 24 Media. It says, Ukraine just changed warfare forever with AI-guided attack drone swarms. Now again, we're still in the early moments of swarming and drone swarms. But you have to start with the rudimentary before you get to the more complex and sophisticated. And that's where all of this is headed. And it's what the world does not see coming. It says, as militaries race to harness artificial intelligence, Ukraine has quietly moved from theory to battlefield application, deploying autonomous drone swarms that coordinate, adapt, and strike with minimal human oversight. And again, this changes the nature of warfare, because the United States is still stuck in that. And I see people send me these stories all the time about the Epirus system that it shoots a directed energy at incoming drone swarms, and they say, look, they tested it in Indiana and it took down 50 drones, right? Yeah, little quadcopters that were coming right at it under ideal conditions. What happens when those drones are outfitted with AI and they can coordinate in a decentralized swarm, adapt in real time on the battlefield without human oversight? That changes everything. Systems like that fire directed energy, they're going to be obsolete. They're going to be worthless. They already are worthless, in my opinion. It says, Ukraine has become the first military in history to conduct battlefield operations using drone swarms controlled by artificial intelligence, according to the Wall Street Journal. The development marks a new phase in the development of unmanned aerial warfare, where groups of UAVs can coordinate and strike with limited human oversight. Ukrainian forces are employing software developed by the local company Swarmer, which enables drones to communicate with each other, identify targets, and adapt mid-mission. Analysts cited by the publication say these missions mark the first known routine use of swarm technology in warfare. The Wall Street Journal reports that Ukrainian units have already carried out more than 100 swarm operations. A Ukrainian officer confirmed that a common formation involves 3 drones, 1 reconnaissance platform, and 2 carrying small bombs. After being assigned a target area, the reconnaissance drone maps a route, while the strike drones decide themselves when and how to release their payload. This approach reduces the number of operators needed to 3 personnel instead of 9 in conventional missions. Swarmer's chief executive told the Wall Street Journal that the system allows the UAVs to adjust if one fails, such as when a battery runs out. He noted the technology had been tested with up to 25 drones, and that larger-scale trials of swarms exceeding 100 UAVs are planned. So typically right now it looks like they're using 3 drones in a swarm, but it's been tested with up to 25, and they expect larger-scale trials exceeding 100 in the very near future. And guys, this is going to get into the thousands, and then the millions, and eventually into the billions, even though people think that's absurd right now. But that's the world doesn't see this coming yet, but it's coming. It says other militaries, including the United States, China, France, Russia, and South Korea, are developing swarm technologies, yet Ukraine remains the only country confirmed to be using them regularly in combat. Experts cited by the Wall Street Journal underlined that even limited autonomous teaming is a significant milestone, while full-scale swarms of hundreds of drones remain a future objective. And of course, that's true. They remain a future objective, but a very achievable one that will be achieved. And again, those swarms of hundreds of drones will soon be thousands of drones, and then millions of drones. And of course, the drones, when people think of the drones, they think of quadcopters, but think of much smaller and more sophisticated and more powerful and exploding munition drones, rather than a drone that carries some sort of explosive device and drops it. Think of the drone itself being the explosive, flying to its target. Again, think of these smaller and smaller until you think of the size of locusts and bees, swarms of that magnitude and of that ability. And then think if those locusts or those bees could fire off small explosives. And that's what we're talking about that is coming very quickly. This isn't something that's 100 years in the future. This is just years away. And yet the world remains completely unaware that this is even coming, much less how quickly it is coming. And guys, the key moment in all of this, as I've been pointing out, is the development of molecular manufacturing, because that gives it a manufacturing capability that allows these nations to, or really one nation, whoever develops it first, I believe is going to maintain a monopoly power over that capability, but they can manufacture from the bottom up with atomic precision very rapidly at low cost and deploy these swarms at scale, even manufacturing them on the battlefield in real time. Imagine the ability to basically come into an area and instantly create, in a matter of moments, if not hours, a swarm of 1 million mechanized bees that can go explode on your adversary. And you can send another swarm after that if that swarm is neutralized. How powerful is that? And you can deploy these in the oceans as well, because we've looked at all sorts of biomimetic drones in the past. They have drones. These are drones that mimic nature. So it mimics God's design of birds, bees, hornets, fish. So we see these in the water as well. So schools of fish. So again, these can be deployed at mass scale once the ability to dramatically lower that cost takes place. And what this will do is it will make mutual assured destruction obsolete. Guys, mutual assured destruction is all that has kept the world's major powers from war since the end of World War II. So once that is no longer in place, and the conventional wisdom tends to think, well, that will always be the case, but it will not always be the case. Nuclear weapons will become obsolete as well. And once that happens, the door is open for not only World War III, but again, whoever develops these technologies, I believe, will take advantage of that first mover advantage to establish a monopoly on that technology. And they can only do that by establishing a global empire. Again, let's take a look at this right here. This is from just a quick excerpt from a book I wrote. It's right over my shoulder, Racing Toward Armageddon. It says, when MAD becomes obsolete, again, mutual assured destruction, it will end the threat of nuclear war forever. But this isn't necessarily a good thing, because a new threat will take the place of nuclear war. That threat is an arms race between nations with post-MAD weapons. Such an arms race will be highly unstable. When it erupts into war, it will destroy the entire world. So while the threat of nuclear war will end, the threat of global destruction will not. In fact, the odds of global destruction will increase. Doesn't sound like a promising future, does it? But don't worry. As terrible as all this sounds, many people claim they already have the solution. What are they going to claim as the solution? Global government. Or I would say global empire, because that's what the Bible tells us is coming. We read this in Revelation chapter 13, verse 7. It says, and the beast was allowed to wage war against God's holy people and to conquer them. And he was given authority to rule over every tribe and people and language and nation. The Bible tells us a global empire is coming. We read that same chapter in Revelation 13, verse 4. It tells us that the world marvels at the power of the beast. Who is able to make war against him, is what they say. These swarm technologies we're seeing, and in particular when we see molecular manufacturing developed, that will give the power to whatever nation or group of nations has developed that, the ability to not only conquer the globe, but guys, it will be a necessity, because as we just stated in that passage, you'll have a choice. Well, you can allow a second power to develop, in a very and create an unstable arms race environment, because with these exponentially advancing technologies, you'll never have a clear idea of what advantage or disadvantage your adversary holds. Are they going to preemptively strike and overwhelm me? I don't know. So it creates an arms race that is almost certain. It's the exact opposite of mutual assured destruction, where that holds people back from attacking one another. This would actually create the conditions that would make it likely to preemptively attack. And that has implications for the existence of humanity. So whoever develops this, whether their intentions are good or bad, however they may view themselves, they will use it to conquer the entire world. And as we just saw in Revelation 13, the Bible says that is coming. The Antichrist will sit astride this global empire. We read in the book of Daniel that this revived Roman Empire devours the entire earth. It's unlike any of the other previous empires that Daniel discusses, that we read about in Daniel chapter 2. So guys, all of this is coming. The world does not see this coming. They do not see how quickly this will come. Again, this is a matter of years, not centuries, that we're talking about with these technologies. We're seeing them develop. Again, we've talked about AI-enabled drone swarms. Again, they have entered the battlefield in Ukraine. We're still in the early moments. We still have these rudimentary swarms where it's just a handful of drones acting in tandem, but they're independently making decisions on the battlefield. They're adapting in real time. And as the software gets more sophisticated, as the drones get more sophisticated, we'll see larger swarms, we'll see more effective swarms, and conventional military capabilities will be good for nothing, guys, until eventually even the threat of nuclear war and a nuclear arsenal, the size of the one the United States has, the size of the one Russia has, will be obsolete in the face of what's coming. Guys, we are in the last days of the last days. This is yet another sign of how close we are to the tribulation period. Jesus and the prophets told us all the signs to look for. And Jesus said, when you see those converging in our time, he said, when you begin to see all these things take place, know that I am near. I am right at the door. So today you should be filled with a sense of joy if you know Jesus, knowing how close we are to his return. Because you should also be filled with a sobering sense of urgency to share the good news of Jesus Christ with as many people as possible. So make sure you're doing that. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. Again, make sure to join us tonight on YouTube for the live Prophecy Roundtable at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope to see you there. But if you miss it, again, the replay will be available instantly. So guys, let me know what you think. Leave your comments below. And God willing, I will see you on Friday. Bye.